Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm diving back into sourdough baking and I'm going to be showing you guys how to make sourdough bagels. Really something that isn't super hard to do. A lot of people feel intimidated by this, but I assure you it's a really easy process. In this video I actually used my KitchenAid stand mixer, but 9 times out of 10 I'm actually just using a bowl and my hands and it works just as well. So for this particular recipe, I followed, I will leave the blog post in the description box. It's from Farmhouse On Boone. She has some great recipes on there, and her recipe calls for 1/2 cup sourdough starter, 1 cup water, 2 tablespoons honey, 2 teaspoons salt, and 4 cups of all-purpose unbleached flour. I doubled this recipe, so you'll notice I do everything double. And then obviously I love to feed my starter right after I use it so I don't forget, and I slide it back and I let it ferment for a few hours. I put this on the stand mixer for 10 minutes, but like I said, you can do this with your hands in a bowl and it will just be just as good. I don't feel like you have to use a stand mixer if you're low on time or don't want to get out the extra dishes. Once your 10 minutes is up, the dough should be really thin and it should be smooth. This is totally normal. I like to add a little bit more flour at this point to make the dough a little bit more doughy, if you will. I don't know the right word to say, but just more thick. So I usually do half of my flour at the beginning and then I do the other half at the end just to get that consistency that I like. I'll just let the dough combine again. I won't do it for 10 minutes, but I'll do it until it's all incorporated, and then I will cover it with a tea towel and let it rise the remainder of the time that I need to. Sometimes it's 5 hours, sometimes it's 8 hours, but I'll throw it in the fridge and then usually overnight, and then in the morning I will take it out. You can see it's very tough, it's very thick, and that's exactly what you want bagel dough to be like. And you will cut it and pull it apart and start forming your bagels. I like to just roll them into a little ball and then poke a hole with my finger in the center to make the actual bagel part. The dough will be just a more thick dough, and so you can use the heat of your hands to really form the dough nicely. Don't worry about over kneading it or anything like that. You can just really work with it nicely and get it to the shape and texture that you want to see. Once I have all the bagels on the parchment paper, I will let it rise for another 2 or 3 hours, whatever I have time for. And I just like to see the bagels double in size if they can. So in this photo you can see they've gotten a little bit bigger. And then I will get my water boiling. I just throw in a random amount of brown sugar and baking soda. I know in the recipe it calls for exacts, but I just throw in maybe a 1/4 cup of brown sugar and a teaspoon of baking soda, and it works great for the bagels to boil. And that is the part of bagels that I feel like so many people might be intimidated by. But just let your water boil. You'll drop your bagels in for 1 minute on each side and let them get that kind of not baked look, but it'll just help harden the outside, so when you bake them they have that chewy texture on the inside. So it's just 1 minute on this side, and then after 1 minute or so flip it over and repeat the process. A really fun thing about bagels is you can choose different seasonings to put on top. So for this one, I did a everything but the bagel seasoning from Trader Joe's. And then I also love to do cinnamon sugar or a mixture of 3 cheeses. I like to do a cheddar, an Asiago, or a Parmesan, and you can really get creative with the type of bagels that you make. I also just really love doing plain bagels too. So you can get creative in this process, but now is the time that you would add those toppings when your bagel is wet from the water. Once your bagels have all been boiled, you will throw them in the oven at 425 and bake them for around 20 minutes. After that, let them cool and put them in a bowl or a bag or eat them. They're good for a few days, and they're also, you can freeze them too. So this recipe is really versatile if you need to save them, but most of the time these don't really get past a few days because they get eaten up. They're so delicious and pretty simple if you're patient and want to do the fermenting. If you want to skip the fermenting and you don't want to let it sit for 8 hours at first on the counter, you can totally do that too. It really just depends on the gluten breakdown that you want to happen. You can make them quickly or you can let them go for an entire day. It really just depends on your preference for your sourdough bagel and the nutrient breakdown that you want. Slice it up, and we like to put cream cheese on it, butter. We like to make sandwiches with turkey and cheese or ham and cheese, and they're just so delicious and so fresh. They're also great to take on park outings and or to lunches that you might be out and about. Just a really nice snack. My kids ask for these every single day, so when we can make them, it is a huge treat and just such a good meal. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.